Right, so guys, I am about to buy the DJI Pocket 4P and yeah, I'm going to get the standard version. And since the Pocket series, the DJI Pocket series cameras are meant to be vlogging cameras anyway, I decided to vlog about it and compare maybe whether it's worth upgrading from the Pocket 3 to the Pocket 4P. Admittedly, I regret not getting the creator combo on the Pocket 3 because it's quite expensive to buy a wide-angle lens, and a wide-angle lens is very useful for vlogging such as this. What's interesting to me, as I am scrolling through as I'm comparing the standard and the vlog combo of the Pocket 4P, doesn't come with a wide-angle lens. As far as the package goes, I'm going to go for the standard one, save some money, because I already have a mic 3, I have a mic 2, I don't need the tripod, I don't need the bag, I don't need accessories. So yeah, I'm going to carry over most of the accessories I'm using on the Pocket 3 to the Pocket 4P. Oh, by the way, Freewell already sent me their ND filters, the ND filter kit for the Pocket 4P. Right, I've been looking at the ND filter. It's built well, it's made of plastic, it's lightweight. I don't think it's going to give the gimbal any problems. But thing is, I've been looking at the filter, and the top filter is a little bit darker than the bottom filter, which I think it's Freewell accounting for the different apertures of the lenses. So yeah, well done Freewell. Once I got with the polarizing filter so I can actually darken my skies, cut all the reflections. Yeah, thank you Freewell. A few accessories that I am hoping will fit into the new Pocket 4P is, one of them is this. This is the PK11 by Ulanzi. It's just a bottom plate that is a metallic bottom plate that actually just is a right angle thing for the USB cable to be shifted to the back of the camera, and then there's a 1/4-20 underneath. Underneath there I have attached a Uka plate by Ulanzi, again, the one that I mentioned earlier. The other thing that I'm actually really hoping to fit is this. This is also by Ulanzi, the PM01. PM01, what it is just a simple cage. It's a cold shoe. They still have the DJI mount right in front here. Is there any at the back? Nope. To the side? No, nothing. What I like is that this doesn't get in the way of the SD card slot. It also comes with MagSafe. The MagSafe thing I like to attach my phone probably as sort of like a monitor.
Terima kasih.
Makasih, mas. Yep. Should I actually shoot a serious video? Should I actually do this seriously? No, I don't think so. There's already a ton of unboxing videos available online, I'm sure. Another one of them, I can't do it differently, so I'm just going to unbox it like this anyways. Yeah, this is the DJI Pocket 4P, the standard combo, not the vlog combo. Right, in the box you get, not much actually, a DJI sticker. You do get a small pouch, which is not bad actually. You don't get this with the DJI Pocket 3 standard combo. Let's just open it. Accessories. You got a handle. You get, oh, the light. Let's just open these. The fill lights that I suspect I will never use. Is it actually powered? Is it actually an extra battery? No, it's not. So this thing is just a normal handle. It's not powered at all. You get a lanyard, you get a strap, but I'll probably get a Wilton Craft strap for my DJI Pocket 4P. This thing is a lot heavier than the original Pocket 3. You get a USB-C to USB-C cable, and that's it, nothing else. This thing I will eat later. Yeah, it's quite hefty, it's quite heavy. Yeah, this is the satisfying part. Yeah, screen. Open this up as well. First impressions, it looks all right. It looks great. The SD card slot now is covered. unlike the old one. So you remove this for the lens. Right, moment of truth. Will the accessories for the DJI Pocket 3 fit on the DJI Pocket 4P? Guess what? It actually works. I'm so happy about that. It actually works. It's awesome. Is it a bit longer than the Pocket 3? Yes, I think the handle is slightly longer. I think it's a better battery life than the Pocket 3. If that thing fits, then this will probably do just fine. We'll see. It actually does, guys. So some of the accessories, I'm not saying all because I don't have all the accessories from the Pocket 3. It will fit the Pocket 4P. The problem is the battery door is covered by the cage itself right now. So it's not something I remove a lot anyway. So yeah, I probably will be fine about that. So put this in. Yes, it absolutely works. So the reason why I like this is that, let me show you something. The Uka plate system is that this is one of my tripods that I use for my Pocket 3, sometimes, you know, a few other things. And then all I have to do is to do this, and then, yep, it's on the tripod. It's just a quick release system. It's a very nice quick release system. And then this MagSafe thing right here, it also doubles as my magnet for sticking to shells, my metal pillars and what have you. So yeah, very happy that these fit. Will I use the lanyard? Probably not. 1, 2, 3. Osmo. English? Oh, right. I need to activate it using the phone. Okay, cut. We'll come back later. Right, okay, now I am currently recording on both cameras. My settings are identical. I've matched up the white balance. Now, the thing about the Pocket 4P is that there is a tint shift going on, so I'm just going to leave it. I did the trick of going from auto white balance to manual white balance and let the camera sort of like decide the white balance. The Pocket 3, to be quite honest, looks a bit depressing compared to the Pocket 4. I didn't expect this much difference, to be quite honest. I'm blown away. Yeah. Right, is the Pocket 3 still usable? Yes, of course it is. I'm on auto color. I'm not even on any D-Log mode or what have you. I'm not on film tone and what have you. So yeah, first impressions. I'm quite impressed. I'm blown away. The Pocket 3 footage looks very magenta. I don't know what to say. I thought that it will be similar, but it isn't. Right, so I am going to switch completely to the Pocket 4P, and yeah, we'll continue from there. So, right, guys. So right now, it's been a day, and I've shot 2 reels this morning and tried D-Log 2, tried D-Log as well, since I wanted to test the 60mm and the 20mm, and these are the results. So yeah, as you can see, D-Log grades beautifully, actually. You don't need to be in D-Log 2 all the time. Something interesting about D-Log 2 is that after doing some reading, after doing some research on the internet, apparently DJI recommends shooting D-Log 2 at ISO 800 or 1600, which means you will need ND filters. shooting at that ISO range. So I am on my ND8 from Freewell shooting at ISO 1600. We'll see what happens when I take it to the computer for editing and grading and what have you. So yeah, between 800, 1600 for the maximum dynamic range, which makes me wonder, what is actually the base ISO of the camera itself? A few notes that I want to talk about. This is my first impressions video, so it's not a full review. I will be putting this camera through its paces, and then I will talk about it in a comprehensive review in the next video. Maybe get some more accessories, who knows? Number one, I just use 1x and 3x zoom. They both are great. Again, you can only use D-Log with the 60mm, the reel that I showed you earlier on, the scene with my eye. It was filmed at a 60mm, and to be quite honest, it was sort of a stress test because it's easy to film in natural light. It's wonderful, but when you are filming in artificial lighting, that's when, you know, if your bitrate, if your codec doesn't hold up, if your packaging doesn't hold up, then it's going to be a nightmare, you know, with all those different wavelengths. It just behaves differently, artificial lighting and natural lighting. So yeah. Second thing, the way I grade the footage, the way I converted from D-Log and D-Log 2 to Rec 709 anyway. So for D-Log, I use the CST in DaVinci Resolve. It comes natively. So yeah, I just chose DJI D-Log, converted into Rec 709. For D-Log 2, I use the conversion LUTs that DJI actually provided. So there's 3 of them, one being the D-Log 2 to Rec 709, D-Log 2 to Rec 709 Vivid. The last one is D-Log 2 to some flavor of Arilog. I can't remember, so yeah, go check them out. Some cons about the camera, some things I noticed about camera. The gimbal isn't as nimble as the Pocket 3. Must be the size and weight of the camera itself. So yeah, it's not surprising. It doesn't go as quick as the Pocket 3. The tracking is fine. I use the tracking to track my coffee cup in the prior reel. It's all right. If you move too quickly, the camera cannot keep up. By the way, I'm using the slowest setting. I might need to try the tracking system outdoors so I can actually walk around, see the tracking speed. The way that the camera behaves coming out of the box. One thing was that when I connected the Mic 3, the audio was a bit hot, so I had to lower the level by probably like -3 dB or -6 dB, don't remember. But yeah, lower the volume of the mic or you might actually clip it. Another thing that is weird is that when you're on standard mode, you actually are able to switch between a standard bitrate and a high bitrate. I don't know why you would want to be on a standard bitrate. Well, okay, I do. It's to save space. It's almost twice the space that you're going to take up. But for me anyway, I like to grade my footage. I like to mess around with my footage. So I'm guessing that a higher bitrate will give you more headroom for grading. So yeah, take note of that. If you want to grade your footage, if you want to shoot this on auto color, on standard color anyway, make sure you turn that option to high bitrate instead of sticking to the normal one. That's very important. Also, when you're on manual mode, you need to remember that both lenses have different apertures. So if you're switching to the 60mm, it will appear brighter. Now, I'm not so sure about the DJI ND filters, but the Freewell ones that I'm using currently, they have different levels of ND filters between the top and the bottom camera. So yeah, that balances out. But you need to remember that when you're using no filters, so yeah, your 70mm will be a bit brighter. Right, so who is the camera for? This one is a tricky one, because I do believe that this camera is targeted towards the general consumer. It's more of someone who just wants a quick and simple, awesome vlogging camera, very, very capable camera with the least friction possible. So they just want to, rock up to a scene, whip out the camera, set it to auto exposure, auto white balance, what have you, and then just film away. And then when you're switching to the 60mm, it will give you better B-roll on your vlog or what have you. As far as details go, you can just take a look at the eye. At my eye is very, very detailed. It's very, very sharp. So yeah, no complaints right there whatsoever. But on the other hand, if you want to maximize the capability of this camera, I would suggest you go into sort of like D-Log or even D-Log 2, because that is where you open up color grading. That is where a lot of the artistic decisions happen, especially D-Log 2. You really need to know what you're doing, how you're shooting, how you're lighting. D-Log 2 is more suited for controlled conditions. At the end of the day, the question comes down to, if you have a Pocket 3, is it worth upgrading to the Pocket 4P? I do think so, yes. I think that as far as image quality goes, as far as the colors go actually, it looks a lot better. Especially that auto white balance to manual white balance thing where you can actually shift the green and magenta is huge. What else? What else? Yeah, that's it. See you in the next video.